Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. Welcome to a very, very cold Turf Moor here, where it's just finished. Burnley 0, Arsenal 2. Another week, another Saturday, another game, another set-piece goal for Arsenal, another win for Arsenal, another 3-point haul for Arsenal. Mikel Arteta's league leaders continue to march on. 9 wins in a row in all competitions now, and that's 7 games that they've won in a row without conceding a goal. The first time they have done that since 1987. This team that we are watching right now continue to make the records tumble. It was another very, very comfortable win. A game of two halves, to be fair. Arsenal utterly dominant in the first half, put themselves in a really, really good position. 2-0 up at half-time. Different game in the second half. They took their foot off the gas. Burnley came more into it. Didn't really ever look like getting back into the game themselves, but it was more of an even contest. Arsenal very much playing at second gear. They'd lost Victor Gyökeres, who I'll talk about quite extensively in this reaction show. They lost him at half-time, presumably to an injury, and I think that really changed the way they played in the second half. They didn't have that outball because he'd been causing Burnley so many problems, and they didn't have that outball. Marino came on and it was just obviously a very, very different player. He likes to drop deep. He doesn't stretch the play. He doesn't make the run down the channels that Gyökeres does, and I think that really impacted Arsenal and made a big impact in terms of how the second half ended up panning out. But we'll talk about that second half in a minute. The first half was excellent, I thought, from Arsenal. Really, really strong. Again, they'd already had a really good chance. Bukayo Saka went through one-on-one very early on, probably about, under 10 minutes. He went through one-on-one. Never quite got the ball out of his feet. He had some pressure from the guy behind him, gave him a little bit of a shove. He got his shot away, but it was straight at Dubravka. Not great effort from Bukayo Saka. So that was a big chance that went missing early on. But they did get themselves in front soon after. And of course, it came from a set piece. Haters going to hate. But it was a wonderful set piece, to be fair. Declan Rice's delivery was so good. And check out, if you haven't seen it yet, seen the goal, check out Gabriel's little touch at the back post to lay it back for Gyökeres to head it in. It was a fabulous piece of play from Gabriel, sort of in the air, running at pace, in the air at the back post to sort of cushion it the way he did back into the 6-yard box for Victor Gyökeres to touch it in. Really, really good play by Gabriel. So that was 1-0. Set piece broke open the game once again. There was other chances. Saka went through again. Somehow it was a really good save this time from Dubravka. Trossard got the follow-up. Somehow his follow-up was kept out by 2 defenders on the line. It kind of deflected into both of them before they cleared it. Started to wonder at that point, you're like, are they missing too many big chances here? Could they be putting the game out of sight already? But then the second goal did arrive, and it was a brilliant goal on the counter-attack from Arsenal. It came from a Burnley long throw that they launched into the penalty area, Arsenal penalty area. The ball played out to Gyökeres in the right-hand channel, and he drove forward, then pinged a wonderful sort of drilled crossfield pass from the right wing over to the left wing to Leandro Trossard, who got in towards the final third, stood up across for Declan Rice, and Declan Rice's header was brilliant to make it 2-0. It was a really, really good counter-attacking goal from open play from Arsenal, showing they could do that. And it was very much what they deserved at that point. They've been thoroughly dominant, and they cruised into half-time, 2-0 in front. I think the stats, Burnley hadn't had a shot. They had 0.00 XG at the end of the first half. Arsenal had an XG of over 2 in that half. It was a thoroughly dominant 45 minutes from Arsenal. But then, as I said, the second half did change. Gyökeres went off at half-time. Again, Mikel's press conference will be in a bit. I'll run down there in a minute to get down for the press conference, see what he has to say. We haven't heard yet what it is. There was Tom Canton was sitting next to me. I didn't see this, but he said that it looked like Gyökeres got a bit of an arm to the face just before half-time. So whether that's something to do with it, we'll have to wait and see. By the time you're watching this video or listening to it as a podcast, you've probably heard already what Mikel Arteta's had to say. He's probably given an explanation as to what happened. But hopefully it was nothing serious from Gyökeres. So Marino came on, and it did completely change the way Arsenal were playing. You know, Gyökeres, it was his best 45 minutes in an Arsenal shirt in the first half, without a shadow of a doubt. Everything that was played up to him stuck. He was really strong. His link-up play was excellent. Hold-up play was excellent. Scored, obviously, played a really big part in the second goal. It was definitely his best 45 minutes in an Arsenal shirt. So it was a shame it only lasted for that first half. But the second half, without Gyökeres as that sort of focal point, that outball, Arsenal just couldn't cause Burnley as many problems. They were playing in second gear as well, which I think had something to do with it. But Marino came on. Marino didn't have a great game. His touch wasn't really there. He struggled, I thought, Mikel Marino. And Burnley just grew into it as a contest a little bit more. I say they grew into it a little bit more. They didn't really cause Arsenal any problems. I don't think they had a shot on target. There was a header that Raya saved from the angle we were looking at. It looked like it was going wide. So I don't know what the data people are going to credit whether it was a shot on target or not. I don't think it was a shot on target, but it was certainly something for Raya to do, at least. And in the very last minute, they had a free kick that hit the post, but obviously that doesn't count as a shot on target. So I think it's another game without conceding a shot on target for Arsenal. That was the only real threatening moments that they had. At the other end, I thought Ethan Nwaneri, who came on in the second half, looked bright, looked lively. He produced a lovely piece of skill to sort of turn his man and run through on goal. He bent his shot just past the post. Christian Norgard came on in the second half. Zubamendi limped off, was replaced by Norgard. Again, hopefully that's nothing too bad. Zubamendi, the camera panned to him as he went off. He didn't look too bothered when he was going off. He didn't look like he was in too much pain. So hopefully it was nothing serious. But Zubamendi came on and he had a good effort late on as well, which Dubravka saved. So that was about it in terms of sort of goal shooting. It was a bit testimonial-like in the second half. But it was another comfortable win. As I said, the records keep tumbling. You know, that first time since 1987, 7 wins in a row without conceding a goal. If they do it next week, if they do it on Tuesday night in Prague, that'll be 8 wins in a row without conceding a goal. That's the first time they would have done that since 1903, I believe, which was mad. You could see actually when they hit the post, it was the last kick of the game when Burnley hit the post just in front of me. The celebration between Saliba and Gabriel when the full-time whistle went and they've kept another clean sheet. You can see what it means to them. They're so determined not to concede a goal. And you can really just see that in the way they celebrate absolutely everything. So it's another win. At the time of recording this, obviously Spurs have got to play Chelsea a little bit later on today, but at the time of recording this, Arsenal are 7 points clear at the top of the Premier League table, which is obviously a fantastic place to be. We'd have all certainly taken that at the start of the season if we had been offered it at this stage of the season. Right, I'm going to go through my player ratings now. Okay, we'll start with David Raya, who I've given a 7 out of 10 rather than a 6 out of 10. I've listened to all of the complaints after these. It's like, well, how can you mark Raya as a 6 and you give all the defenders a 7s or an 8 when we keep a clean sheet? So I've given him a 7. He didn't have a save to make, again, but he did do everything that he needed to do very, very well. He held the ball up. He swept up really well. He was passing. In the second half, Arsenal were playing it around the penalty area a lot. A little bit too much for my liking, but he did it very, very well. He claimed crosses when he needed to, and so it was a good performance from David Raya. So 7 out of 10. During Timber, I also gave a 7 out of 10. He was up and down all afternoon down that right-hand side. Could have scored, actually, in the second half. Just failed to get his foot to an opportunity when he was furthest man forward. He also stood up another really nice cross in the second half that no one could quite get their head to when he got in the overlap of Bukayo Saka. So I gave him a 7 out of 10. William Saliba, surprise selection. Wasn't expecting to see him in, given the injury issues that have been going on. He was very much doubtful for this game, but Mikel said before the match that he trained yesterday was okay, so he started the game. Wasn't really threatened during the match itself, but it was another solid performance from him. Dealt with everything that really came his way, so I gave a 7. I've given Gabriel an 8 because he made a big difference in the opposition penalty area again for the first goal, which was a crucial goal to give Arsenal the lead, and it was a really, really nice bit of play at the back post to set up Victor Gyökeres for his goal. So I gave him gave him an 8. Gave Calafiori a 7, linked up really well with Trossard. I'll get to Trossard in a minute, but I liked Arsenal down the left-hand side at times today. And Trossard and Calafiori linked up very well, especially in the first half. Burnley was struggling to pick him up when he did get down there. So I gave him a 7 in midfield. Martin Zubamendi I gave a 7. Some of his passes in the first half were superb, out of this world. There was one little dinked ball over the top, which Trossard just couldn't turn in. If he did manage it, it would have been a fabulous goal. It was brilliant from Zubamendi. So I gave him a 7 out of 10. Hopefully, there's nothing serious in terms of why he went off limping in the second half. Declan Rice is just a cheat code. He is a cheat code. Honestly, 9 out of 10. The delivery for the first goal, for the corner, just undefendable, pretty much, especially when you got someone like Gabriel attacking it. To get into the box, to score the header the way he did for the second goal. But his all-round performance, especially in the second half, when Arsenal definitely switched off a little bit and they were going through the gears and were not at their best, he was the one player just everywhere, on the left, on the right, winning back in his own penalty area, going forward. It was just monstrous from Declan Rice. The man of the match for me, 9 out of 10. Eze, I gave a 6. Picked up some good positions, was involved in the first half, faded in the second half, wasn't really in the game. He was substituted, so I gave him a 6. Right, moving on to the attack. Bukayo Saka, I gave a 6 as well. Didn't have his shooting boots on today. Bukayo, we very disappointed he didn't get himself a goal. He was a threat in the first half, got himself into good positions, but couldn't take them. Definitely would have expected himself to score at least one of those chances. So I gave Bukayo a 6. Victor Gyökeres, as I said, it was his best 45 minutes in an Arsenal shirt. It was just a shame it had to stop at 45 minutes. Could have been really good to see what he had to do in the second half, and Arsenal was certainly worse off as a result of him being substituted. I gave Victor an 8 for that first half performance. Trossard I gave an 8 as well. I really liked Trossard today. It was a proper battle with Kyle Walker. Sometimes Walker got the better of Trossard, sometimes Trossard got the better of Walker. It was a brilliant cross to set up Declan Rice's header, and I just thought it was a really good performance from Trossard. A little bit lucky, got sucked into a bit of a spat over on the halfway line. It did go to VAR. He sort of kicked out when he was on the floor. Maybe a little bit lucky the Burnley player didn't make a bit more of that incident and actually go down. If he had, he might have been in trouble. So he got away with one perhaps there, but I thought it was a good performance from Leandro Trossard, who's having a very, very good season. In terms of the sub, Marino came on at half-time. As I said, it wasn't his best performance, and I'm a big fan of Mikel Marino, but things didn't really work out for him. He fell over basically the first time he was involved in the game in the second half, and I think that set the tone. His touch was just a little bit off. He did set up Norgard's chance with a nice little touch around the corner, but I gave Marino a 5. I thought he was not at his best, shall we say. Ethan, I gave a 6. He wasn't on for very long, but he was bright. In fact, I'm going to give Ethan 7. I thought it was a bright cameo from Ethan. He wasn't on for long, but what he did do, he did very, very well, and he created a really good opportunity for himself that he put just wide, but it was a lively performance from Ethan. I thought he was the best of the subs, so I'm going to give him a 7 just to rise him above the others. So Nkapia gave a 6. Important minutes for him as he continues to build up his fitness, and then Norgard came on late on, had that shot that was saved, and Miles Lewis-Skelly came on in injury time. Miles Lewis-Skelly just to see the game out. So it's been another comfortable win for Arsenal, but I tell you what, I'll take another, 29 of those? 28 of those now. I'm not even sure how many minutes. It'll be 10 games into the Premier League season. For every single game between now and the end of the season, I sit here saying it's another comfortable win for Arsenal. I will be absolutely delighted. It is all going rather well at the moment. And remember, we've got loads of really, really good players to come back very, very soon. So it's going to get better. Fingers crossed. And it's November, and Arsenal have won a game in November. They've started November with a win, and that doesn't happen very often because this month is normally a horror show for Arsenal. So that's a good sign as well. I'm pretty cold, everyone, so I'm going to hot foot it back down into the press room now, hear what Mikel Arteta has got to say in his press conference, and then get in my car and make the journey home. I'll be doing the review show tomorrow, as always, much more in depth, looking at what Mikel Arteta's had to say, maybe discussing injuries a little bit more. Discussing Victor Gyökeres, Declan Rice. Anything you want me to discuss, give me your thoughts, give me your opinions on the game, who stood out for you, who impressed you, who maybe didn't. Let me know in the comments below, and as always, I'll get some of those together and get them included in tomorrow's review show. So until then, it's finished here at Turf Moor. Arsenal, league leaders, 2, Burnley 0. Another win for Mikel Arteta's side. See you later, everyone. Bye-bye.